Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back. Welcome to the second part of this sharing on looking at education through another brick in the wall as part of the Islam and Pop series. So for the first part, we have already covered about, we've talked about what is schooling, what is training, and the misconception that people have about what education is. So for those of you who have not seen the first part, just look up the link below. All right, I'll provide a link there for you to watch the first part of this sharing on looking through education through another brick in the wall. Once you have seen that, you can come back here again. And if you feel you have actually learned something from this, you found this series to be beneficial, I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you to do subscribe, all right, by clicking on the subscribe button below. Subscribe to this channel, and also so you will be alerted whenever there's also new videos being put up here. So anyway, so let's get on with what then is the Islamic perspective on education, inshallah. Sadaqallahul Azim. Now, a clue to what is the objective of Islamic education and how we should actually seek an education for ourselves as Muslims is to be found in this verse. And this is something which we often hear: on no soul does Allah place a burden greater than he can bear. It gets every good that it earns, and it suffers every ill that it earns. Now, what does this mean? Well, first of all, this verse is a reflection of Allah's justice and also His mercy towards us. His justice in the sense that He places upon us responsibilities, if you like, a burden. Only what He knows, and He's our Creator, He knows what is good for us and what we can carry, and He places only that upon us. And basically, to do the basic good things that all of us can do within our capability, our capacity. He does not ask for more than that. And that is why it says, he goes on, the Quran goes on to say, it gets every good that it earns. That means if we come out at first at a very basic level, and here we think about Surah At-Tin, all right, that every one of us is created in the best of most. So if we do more than that, then we get all the good that it earns, because that is from our own effort, our own striving. But it also warns us that it suffers every ill that it earns. So that means if we already created in the best of most, but if we go beyond that, all right, and we try to be too clever for our own good, then the ill that we get is actually what we ourselves have earned. We cannot blame Allah for it. We cannot say that Allah has made it difficult for us. He has caused us to commit sin and so on. And this idea of not going overboard, doing more than what we are able to do, is further emphasized in the following verse of the Quran. And here in this verse, you see Allah reminding us to give just measure and weight. That means we must give what is due and what is uh, correct, what is just to the people around us, and most importantly to ourselves. And at the same time, also, we are not to sort of undergive, if you like. That means we give less than what we ought to give to the people and also to ourselves. Okay, and this is linked to actually committing evil in the land. All right. So we have to actually act with balance. We have to act with just measure. We must act with equity with regards to um, the responsibilities that we carry out, the ones that we want to carry out, and what we can carry out. And so that means we do not provide something which is too much, which we will then be a burden upon us and a burden on others, or we provide too little, which would then be an act of injustice also because we do not give people what is due, and also we do not give ourselves what is due. So we are actually not grateful for what we have already been given. So what you have just heard is that Allah is the most gracious, the most merciful, and He is the most just. And because of that, He does not expect of us to be able to do things where we are not able to do, where we do not have the strength, the power, the capacity to do. So we should not try to overburden our souls with such things. And we should know where our limits are. And knowing this is important because also in this life on this earth, we have a very limited amount of time on this earth. Okay, we have 24 hours a day, and we don't know for how long we will live. So in that immediate time that we have on this earth, there is only so much that we can do. And some people would be able to do more because the innate ability and capacity that's been given to them, the gifts that have been given to Allah to each and every one of us is not the same. And that's something that we have to acknowledge. So because of this, then we as Muslims, we have to know our place. Okay, and when I talk about our place, it means that we have to know what we can do, what we can aspire to with a reality check, and not try to be somebody that we're not, because that would be burdening ourselves with a load that is far beyond what we can carry. So in Islam, there is this concept. In Islam, there is this concept termed adab, which basically means knowing your place. And by knowing your place here, I mean knowing your place in the scheme of things with regards to your fellow creation and also that of your Lord. And we talk about your fellow creation, it means you're talking about your relationship with your fellow man, with the other creatures that you find on earth, the animals, the plants, even the planets, and so on. Anything that's created by Allah, you must know your place. And it also includes also knowing your relation, your correct position in relation to the unseen world, the world of the jinn, the world of the spirits, and so on. And most of all, knowing your place in relation to your Lord, your Creator, Allah. So this term is what is known as adab. So a man of Islam is somebody who is actually a man of adab. Okay, or another way to put it is the Islamic man or Homo Islamicus is a man of adab. That means he knows his place. And he doesn't try to be more than what he is, and he doesn't try to be less than what he is. To put it simply, it is like, a sparrow should know how to behave like a sparrow. A hawk should know how to behave like a hawk. And a sparrow should not try to behave like a hawk. And a hawk should not behave like a sparrow. That, simply put, encompasses the idea of adab and knowing our place in the scheme of things in relation to our fellow creation and also that of our Lord Allah. So why am I talking about all these things about capacity and knowing your place here? Well, it has everything to do with the idea of Islamic education, especially with regards to its objectives. If we know that we have limited capacities and each of us have got different capacities, and the time that we have on this earth is pretty short, in the sense that it is finite, we are not going to live forever, despite whatever people are trying to do to extend their lives. We are not going to live forever. We may even die in the next moment. Na'uzubillah min zalik. But the point is, with all these limitations, then we have to fulfill our role as Allah's slave, and we have to do it within the time that we have given. And there are things that we should prioritize in terms of our learning, what is important, because what is important at the end of the day is what He will ask of us at the most very basic when we meet Him in the hereafter. So because of that, there are priorities about what we want to learn or what we need to learn. Not so much one, but more perhaps correctly, what we need to learn. And there are also priorities in terms of the kinds of knowledge which our scholars have made it easier for us to help decide which one we should learn first according to our capacity and the finite time that we have on this earth. So therefore, in an Islamic educational system, not all knowledge is considered as equal. There are different kinds of knowledge, and some are given greater priority, and some are regarded as more suitable for some and not suitable for others. And there is also the core, which is at the heart of the Islamic education system, which must be known by all Muslims. And this is what is usually termed as the fardu ain knowledge, because this is the kind of knowledge that we will be questioned about in the hereafter. So then there's a second type, which is a fardu kifaya, and that is with regards to knowledge with which those who have shown that capacity, the extra bit more than the others to go into particular fields. All right, it's not for everyone. So there is no such thing as a democratization of knowledge where knowledge is open to everybody. No, in Islam it's not like that. Neither is knowledge to be the areas of knowledge to be the subject of discussion by everybody, because there are levels of knowledge, there are levels of people, there are levels of scholars, and there are different capacities. So each would be according to its level. So to understand what I mean by priorities, and especially with regards to the fardu ain knowledge, let me read to you a quote from Imam al-Haddad in his book, Categories of Knowledge and Principle of Wisdom. I quote, "If you wish to know which sciences and acts are the most important and beneficial for you, imagine that you are to die the next day and return to Allah, the Exalted, and you are standing before Him and be asked to account for your knowledge, behavior, and all your affairs and states, subsequently to be taken to either the garden or the fire. What you see there as most important and useful to you is precisely what you must now give priority and attachment to, whereas what you find useless, unimportant, frivolous, or simply of no great necessity is what you must neither pursue nor occupy yourself with in this life. Reflect and meditate on this matter well." Unquote. So I think that succinctly puts into perspective what are things that we should prioritize. While there are things that we need to learn, the training for skills and all that are important for life on this earth, but they should never be equated as of the same level as the knowledge that will then lead to the correct action with regards to our relationship with all of creation and with our Lord. Because and the most basic things is the knowledge of the fardu ain, the most basic concerns and duties and responsibilities of a Muslim, because that is what we will be asked about, and that is what will decide whether we will go to the hellfire or to the garden Jannah. So from what I have shared so far, there are a few characteristics of an Islamic education system. Number one, the goal of the education system is the inculcation of adab, teaching a Muslim to know his place in the scheme of things. That is the most important goal of Islamic education. Number two, in terms of learning, not all knowledge is to be given to every Muslim. It is dependent on his capacity. Because if he is doing something or he is learning something which he is incapable of doing well, then he is going to be actually doing himself harm and also harm to others with that knowledge. And that is why today we hear people who are supposedly highly educated but are no better than thieves or robbers or even murderers. Okay, because that emphasis is not there at all. It's just that anybody can learn as long as he's seen as academically smart. Number three, in an Islamic education system, the emphasis is not on the academics. The emphasis is on how well we serve as the servant of Allah, or if you like, as the slave of Allah. That is what is supposed to do. The education system, the education that we get in an Islamic system is supposed to change us to make good Muslims, or if you like, Homo Islamicus, the Islamic man, the man of adab. It's not to produce somebody with a PhD. You can have a PhD and still be a non-Muslim. You can have a PhD and you can still be someone who has no attachment to Islam at all. And that is why you see today the rise of many Islamic centers run by people who supposedly know a lot about Islam, but they themselves are not Muslims. Okay. So for us, such a thing is nonsensical. If you learn something, it's got to have an effect on you. Namely, if you have studied so high, then all the more you should be a Muslim. You should know the truth of Islam. And also, another characteristic of the Islamic education system is that there is no one conveyor belt where everybody goes through the same thing, the same route. All right, there's no such thing. Every individual is actually different according, and we are born with different capacities, abilities, levels of determination, spirituality, and so on. We are all born as men. Yes, that is true. We all will live, die, will eat, will procreate, and so on. The basic things, we are all the same. But in terms of the ability to produce and do something good as a Muslim or otherwise, we are all different. So because of that, in an Islamic education system, the teaching should be taught to be given according to each and every one of the individuals in that system, each and every one of the students in that system. And this is consistent with the hadith where the Prophet was reported to have said, teach according to the level. And or the other one is make it easy, don't make it difficult. So in other words, we should not be burdening our students with all kinds of things when they are not able to do so. It is fine for them to know only the fardu ain if necessary, because that is what will save them from the hellfire, right? And if you're talking about skills, training, and all that, that's a different thing altogether. That's training. That's not education. So for them to earn a living on this earth, by all means, carry on. In the past, in Islamic civilization, you would have the guild system where people will be uh, become an apprentice to a master craftsman of some sort. So the same can be done here today in this modern world today. You can be an engineer and so on, but do not pretend that you are just because you have a degree in engineering or you have even a PhD in engineering, then you know something or you know that you can actually issue what is considered to be fatwas, all right, about the religion itself and challenge those who are actually trained or who have the capacity and the spiritual qualities to be such people. So this is what adab is all about, and this is what Islamic education is all about. It is about the inculcation of adab. So I guess with that, I've covered what I need to cover with regards to the difference between training, schooling, and education, right? At least from the Islamic point of view. I've tried to clarify to show you the differences between the three things which are often confused as the same, right? But it is not the same. They look similar, they sound similar. People may think it's similar, but they're not the same. So I hope you have gathered something useful from this sharing of mine. And if you have questions and so on, please feel free to post your questions below. I will try to respond. But again, like I said, these are all my views, and you don't have to agree with me. But again, if you find it useful, you find this sharing useful, despite talking from the point of view, we started off by talking about from the point of view of a pop song, another brick in the wall. But this is how I think we should see pop culture today. We must be discerning about what we're listening. We must be discerning about what we are watching. We must be discerning about what we're reading, and so on. Discerning in the sense that we are able to filter out the truth from the falsehood. So, in other words, to use an analogy or that my teacher has used in the past before, we should be like the fish that lives in the salted or the saline environment of the sea. Being alive means the fish is able to filter out all the salinity that comes from the sea water. And when we catch that fish, the flesh is actually pretty sweet and we enjoy it. It's not salty at all. But if the fish is dead and put in a saline solution, then you get salted fish. So when you eat that fish, you will get a very salty taste in your mouth. That shows that we have been contaminated. It shows that we are dead. We are, we are dead, yes, but walking, a bit like the today very popular also on TV and movies. All right, we're like zombies. We're walking around but dead. So I hope this sharing has been useful. Again, do subscribe if you think this is useful. And I hope to see you, inshallah, in the next video.